Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
I'm Jessica Faust.
Today we are talking about how an author could go about getting feedback or a referral after rejections, and whether that author should.
Right. I mean, I think understandably, this is one of the most frustrating aspects of rejection on both queries and submissions, is that authors really want to know why. And a standard rejection, especially on a query, is that it's not right for me, let's say.
Yes.
And authors are unsatisfied because it really doesn't give them a direction to go in, which is true. But so is, I'm not the right agent.
Right. And I think we've done a couple videos on this in the past about what to glean from those sort of responses and how you can go about doing it. And the truth is that not every response you get has to have something super indicative about your book and your direction of what you have to do.
Right.
And I think that is the first thing every author should sort of recognize, that sometimes it's just not a fit, and we have no other reason than it's not a fit.
Well, if I may, let's make the comparison to dating.
Okay.
A query letter
It's not a food reference, so it's like it's growth for you.
Right. Like a query letter is at its very best a first date. A submission is maybe multiple dates.
Right.
Maybe even a month of dating. And a lot of times, I mean, you know, we've all had those first dates where we couldn't wait to get out of there.
Right.
And when it ended, we thought, there is nothing inherently wrong with this person. That's sort of the query letter. There's nothing I can give you necessarily that's going to help you, because another agent, you know, another date might feel completely differently than I do. It's just that I found your stories boring, and your fascination with boats was not my fascination, and therefore I just don't see any need for us to see each other again. Right. And that's sort of the query rejection. And I think what we've run up against at BookEnds is we've talked about, and we do have different rejections. A lot of us have sort of a number of different rejections that we'll give. You know, if your word count's really off, or if you just haven't written a query that tells me anything about your book, I will try to give that feedback. But there's also a fear that if I give too much feedback on a query, you're going to take it in a direction that is not what I meant, or is not helpful for you.
But also is not super informed.
Right, right.
Because, I mean, again, we're reading a query letter, and even if I do read your submission, how much of that submission do I read before I decide it's not for me? So how informed and how helpful is any feedback that I give you if I have not gotten a full picture of your book? And
right, and in the case of my first date, if I told first dater that I can't stand boats and therefore never want to see this person again, that person's going to think I can't go on a date and talk about boats.
Right.
But meanwhile, might be missing out on true love with a boat lover because they refuse to talk about boats.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a very convoluted metaphor, but sure, I get it.
It works. That could be the reason I reject a query.
It's true, yeah.
It could be that I have already taken on 3 boat books and I don't have any interest in anymore, and I'm just not the right agent for boat books.
It's true. It's a lot of it is just instinctual and just a gut reaction for us. And I think that trying to give an author feedback or forcing feedback when we don't actually have anything of substance to say is only going to derail an author or a creator in general. So I think there's a lot of want to reach out and ask, well, why did you reject this? Or,
and I think that happens more with submissions because they feel you've now read the book.
Right.
Why didn't you give me feedback other than...
Well, and I think all agents experience this with their clients too, especially the clients that are very organized and keep track of every rejection that they get. It's, okay, well, we got 3 rejections on voice. We got 3 rejections on plotting. We got 3 rejections on this. How do I fix that? And like, it's not always something you have to fix. I think that we
Right.
can keep getting in there and tinkering with your book, but at some point, does it become a Frankenstein of a book? Does it just completely lose its vision? So we could give you feedback, but it's important for every writer to understand that not all feedback is helpful feedback.
A lot of it's very personal, and we've experienced that here at BookEnds, where one of us may have rejected something based
All
on a
the time.
submission, and another agent at BookEnds ended up offering representation and selling that same submission.
All the time.
You know, and sometimes it's that it's a vision. You know, I may reject something because I didn't connect with it. I didn't really like it. I wasn't that interested in it. But another agent, even here at BookEnds, could read that exact same thing and have this wow vision of, I could work with this author and make it this, or this is exactly what I've been looking for. And that's why it's difficult to give feedback and then have an author constantly reconfiguring a book to every bit of feedback they might get.
Right.
And that's our fear. We don't want to put you in a situation, because truthfully, if we're rejecting a submission, we are not reading the whole thing.
Right. Yeah, and that's the most important thing to remember, I think. And while it's unfortunate, and I'm sure it doesn't feel great, it also, it's just the reading experience. And I think, so this is what I want to say, and I know this is probably going to come across harsh, but our job is to be super critical. We have to be, as agents, we are thinking of everything that this book might get rejected for and how we can combat that now before we get that out on submission. And sometimes when we're doing that, we might be hypercritical, but it's in a way that is sort of like, does this work for me right now? So
Yeah.
I think that I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, it's also, am I the one to make this work?
Right.
And I may not have the vision to be able to do that. Or depending on where I am in my list and where I am in my day, I may not have the time to be able to work on that.
Yeah, it's just I'm not the person that can get this from point A to point B where it needs to be.
Correct.
So I think that's something to remember. And again, I'm sure it feels harsh, but it's the business. Like, can we get this to a selling point? And can we do it in a way that retains what the book actually is and maybe the author's vision for it too?
Right. And so a lot of times I will get an email or something after the fact asking for more feedback. I usually don't have it. I'll give you whatever feedback I have.
Right.
But also a lot of times I don't remember.
Right.
You know, I may read all weekend
That's very
long.
true.
I make notes on what I read. I come back and respond to my query manager based on those notes. 2 days later, you just mentioned the title of your book. I don't know enough to give you feedback at that point.
Right. Remember, we get 4, 5, 6+ hundred queries a month, and there are a lot of names. There are a lot of names and a lot of titles and a lot of characters that I have to keep in my head. And while I'm giving them my full attention when I'm reading them, it's very true that it goes out of my head once I'm done, unless it really particularly resonates with me. And chances are, if I'm passing, it doesn't necessarily do that.
Which is often one of the reasons we're passing.
Right.
It hasn't stuck with us in a big enough way for us to keep thinking and obsessing over it.
Right. And that's not to say that obviously things don't, like, near misses and stuff don't happen. They do.
Right.
But so another point too is I get this pretty often. Is there anybody else that you can recommend that I send this to? I want to say, if I am ever rejecting something and I have that immediate reaction in my head, I will tell you in a query. If I don't originally offer that information, I think it's safe to say I don't have that. Also, agents don't necessarily know what every other agent is looking for. So we don't have those referrals for you, which is unfortunate, sure. But it's kind of like the competition. Like, I don't think someone at Burger King can tell you everything on the menu at McDonald's, you know? Like, it's just not what we're doing.
Right. And, you know, at BookEnds, you're welcome to query all agents, just not all at the same time. You can do the research. You've probably already done it. You may have ordered the agents in the order you want to query them. Just go to the next one. But yeah, that's not something I do either. I don't typically give referrals. I don't, and really the biggest thing is I don't pay enough attention to know the specifics and nuances of what other agents outside of BookEnds are representing to be able to know that they would be a great fit for the book.
Right. Though if I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, this would be perfect for Amanda Jane, or because I have that reaction a lot because me and my similar taste. I will say that in the query, or have you tried Tracy Marchini if it's
Yeah.
in picture books? So yeah, I will do that. But beyond that, if I don't offer that, it's likely I just don't have it for you.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that is our way of saying if there's, I don't think there's room for you to go back and ask for more once you've gotten a rejection. Unfortunately, I wish there was. I wish we could give more, but we don't necessarily have it, and it's not necessarily helpful if we do have it.
Agreed.
So just knowing what works, knowing what's relevant to you in a rejection is the most important thing you can do, and we hope you get yeses soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe in the meantime, and we hope to see you next time.
Good luck. Bye-bye.